Welcome to Snetterton for round 13 of the 2017 F3 Cup season. Second race of the weekend has a grid dictated by second fastest times in qualifying. So it's Jacopo Sebastiani on pole position. Alongside him is Shane Kelly. Row 2 of the grid is Robbie Watts and Stuart Wiltshire, with George Line and Tony Bishop on row 3. Gino Ussi has Cian Carey for company on row 4. Mark Harrison and Oliver Searle on row number 5. Watch out for Wade Eastwood off the back of the grid. He had problems in qualifying, didn't even take part in race number 1 and has work to do in race 2 from the tail end of the field. Red lights on. Red lights go out now, and it's a good start by both front row men. A couple of cars towards the tail end of the field, a little bit slower away, but it is going to be Jacopo Sebastiani that leads. Shane Kelly in second place, and Robbie Watts weaving one way and the other in third place. Needs to close the door on George Line, who's got Stuart Wiltshire to his left as they head round through Ritchie's for the first time. But the front two look to have got a little bit of a break actually in the early stages. Onto the brakes and through Wilson. It is still Robbie Watts in third place. Yeah, Stuart Wiltshire and George Line side by side coming out of the corner for what was fourth and fifth place, and already Wade Eastwood making progress by the look of things. He was behind Tony Bishop's car when they headed up towards what is Palmer now. Jacopo Sebastiani having broken away though, he's bringing Shane Kelly with him. Then it's the blue car with its silver flashes of Robbie Watts. George Line has picked the pocket of Stuart Wiltshire, so George Line in the red and white car is now up into fourth place. Stuart Wiltshire's down into fifth, and for the tail end of the grid, Wade Eastwood is already making progress. He's now ahead of Tony Bishop's white and day-glow yellow car by the look of things, so great progress being made in the early stages by the man who so far this year has won more races than anybody, Wade Eastwood. Those problems that befell him in qualifying meant that he did not set a lap time for this second race. There he is, up behind Cian Carey now, making great progress and looking to sit in the slipstream of the Irish driver. Might be able to pull out from behind and gain another place possibly as they come down the Bentley Straight. So Jacopo Sebastiani now heads in towards Brundle and Nelson, still with Shane Kelly in second place and Robbie Watts in third. George Line in his newly acquired fifth place. Stuart Wiltshire in sixth place, and that looks like it's Gino Ussi, is it, that's there in seventh place, with Cian Carey in eighth place under pressure, with Wade Eastwood who's up to ninth now from 15th on the grid. So fantastic first lap having been made by the UK-based South African. So he's won more races than anybody so far this year and has left himself a big old chunk of work to do, but more than capable of doing it from what we've seen of Wade Eastwood so far this year. Sitting in the slipstream now of Cian Carey, who is also picking up the tow from the car ahead. Over the start-finish line comes the race leader. There goes Shane Kelly through Ritchie's in second place, losing a little bit of ground over the course of the first lap, but safely in second place. He's not really under a huge amount of pressure from Robbie Watts, who remains in third. And Shane Kelly, who is looking to try and propel this University of Wolverhampton prepared Dallara right up onto the coattails of the championship leader, but not a great deal he can do about it as yet. Starting to disappear up the road is race 1 winner Jacopo Sebastiani. So the field just feed their way out of Palmer. Cian Carey under huge pressure from Wade Eastwood, so jinks to the left-hand side of the circuit to protect the inside land, then moves back to the right, and Wade Eastwood switches back. Up the inside he goes at Agostini, up to 8th now from 15th on the grid, and the next target that's very firmly within the crosshair is going to be Gino Ussi. They flick their way through the left-hander at Hamilton. The white and red car of Gino Ussi, the charging blue and silver machine in the hands of Wade Eastwood. Up towards Oggies they'll go, and Wade Eastwood is very easily able to just draw himself alongside and now in front of Gino Ussi. So 2 places gained in the course of just 3 corners for the charging Wade Eastwood. Down the straight they will go. He might pick up the tow off another car, but I think that next car is just a bit too far up the road at this stage, and indeed it is. Yeah, it is going to be Stuart Wiltshire, who's just a long way up the road. And Gino Ussi in danger of losing a further place here, because Cian Carey looking to try and squeeze his black and green Dallara through and ahead. Can't quite manage to do so, so still sitting just behind as he turns his way at the wheel of the number 19 car through the bomb hole and up towards Corham, ready to chalk another lap into the book. Comes Robbie Watts, who's going well. He had the spin, of course, in race 1 of the weekend, which dropped him down through the order. He's sitting not that far behind the second place car of Shane Kelly. So here comes Jacopo Sebastiani. Shane Kelly under pressure from the number 7 machine in the hands of Robbie Watts, the man from Essex. Flick their way through the right-hander at Ritchie's corner. George Line sitting there in 4th position, not too far away. As again, they'll head on to the brakes and turn their way through Wilson, the top 5. Fairly equidistantly spread actually, and here is a good little fight going on. Number 96 Oliver Searle is fighting away with Dave Gillette, but Dave, by the look of things, is being handed a 10-second penalty for being out of position at the start, so that in reality means that the number 96 car goes ahead of the number 18 car of Dave Gillette. Race leader already safely out of Agostini, pressing on up towards Hamilton. We've got really a quartet now, 4th for second, third 4th and 5th position. And at the front of that, i.e. the cork in the bottle, it is going to be Shane Kelly, who has got Robbie Watts very, very close for company. And Robbie Watts, if he can get a good exit off Williams, will pick up the tow from the car ahead and might be able to draw himself alongside and possibly in front. So onto the Bentley straight they'll go. Robbie Watts at the wheel of his Dallara, starting to close in all of the time onto the coattails of what is Shane Kelly, but can't quite get the job done as they head down the Bentley straight this time. So again, pretty much nose to tail through Brundle and through Nelson, with George Line poised and ready to pounce as well should this pair in second and third trip over each other. Safely through the bomb hole, they then head through the right-hander at Coram, this just allowing Jacopo Sebastiani now to pull away ever more in the lead of the race. Whereas for Robbie Watts, he's in that unenviable position that he needs to attack and defend at the same time. He's got Shane Kelly just ahead. He's certainly got George Line right behind the red and white car of the reigning champion, who we've not seen on the podium so far this year. Well, he is now knocking on the door of a podium place, but he needs to try and work out somehow how he can squeeze his way through and past the man from Thundersley in Essex, whilst being conscious that he's got Stuart Wiltshire's car not overly far behind as well. So first, second, third, fourth and fifth all turning their way through Wilson pretty much at the same time, as out on circuit that is a problem for the number 96 car of Oliver Cyril, and by the look of things he is removing the steering wheel and clambering out, so the car looks as though it's on the circuit. I suspect he's probably had a spin somewhere and can't get the engine restarted, because you could see a lick of flame at the back where the unburnt fuel was igniting, as I suspect he was trying to fire the ignition up, but walking away from the car. I think, receiving the instructions of the marshals as to where to go. Leave it there, get out of the way and get to safety, I would suggest is the right thing to do. Race continues for the meantime, but it might bring about a safety car period, and as they head down the Bentley straight, okay, yellow flags waving, safety car boards are out, which is going to bunch everybody up. We've also had an off by the look of things. That is going to be Tony Bishop that's had a spin and an off somewhere. So the number 4 car of Tony Bishop, a regular competitor in F3 Cup over the last few years, gets the car pointing back round in the right direction and will be able to continue in the race by the look of things. No harm done for Tony Bishop in terms of damage. Well, there is Oliver Cyril's car, and that is on the exit of Murray's by the look of things, and that is not a safe place to be. So sensible decision by the officials to bring out the safety car. That will bunch the pack up. The clock will continue to tick, of course, whilst all of this is going on. So for Jacopo Sebastiani, he hadn't really broken away, so it's not overly compromised him. And of course what it does do is it gives less time now for those behind to try and overtake. Safety car will be going in by the look of things at the end of this lap. Quick recovery of the number 96 car, so Jacopo Sebastiani needs to decide when he wants to punch the accelerator pedal. Shane Kelly is right with him though as we go back racing here in F3 Cup, race 2 of the weekend at Snetterton. Over the start-finish line they'll go. Good restart by Shane Kelly in second place, who is sitting in the slipstream of the race leader and might give himself half a chance here. Jinx out from behind, but to the left-hand side of the circuit. That's the outside line as they head round through Ritchie's corner, so still hanging on to it is Jacopo Sebastiani, who now takes the defensive run, I would think, in towards the braking area for Wilson. Just hugs that right-hand side of the circuit. Everybody's bunched up, which includes Wade Eastwood now, who's up to 6th place now from what was 15th on the grid. So keep your eye towards the tail end of this little pack. Number 15, Wade Eastwood, has joined in the fun as well. So they turn their way out of Palmer. The order still remains the same. Jacopo Sebastiani from Shane Kelly, George Line. Then it's Robbie Watts under attack from Stuart Wiltshire, and the charging Wade Eastwood sitting right on his coattails. 6 for the lead of the race. Then we start to get a gap back in 7th place, and it is going to be Gino Ussi who's there in 7th place. And you see the Irish flag on the tail end of the wing of Cian Carey, who is at the moment sitting there in what will be 8th position. The leaders just picking their way out of Oggies, and already Jacopo Sebastiani is starting to stretch the advantage once more. And if anything, Shane Kelly in 2nd place is under a little bit more pressure from George Line, who's sitting behind him and should pick up a little bit of the tow this time as they make their way down the Bentley straight. Shane Kelly is not overly concerned though as they head in towards Brundle and Nelson. He knows he's got the car positioned where he needs it to be, so onto the brakes, through the left, through the right, then start to accelerate again as Robbie Watts looks to try and put one up the inside heading in towards the bomb hole. More of a distractive tactic than anything else. Then Stuart Wiltshire does exactly the same to Robbie Watts, so lots of weaving around being done as cars are very much close to each other. And Stuart Wiltshire trying around the outside of Robbie Watts at Coram to give him the inside line for Murray's and makes it stick. What a move from Stuart Wiltshire, but now what he needs to do is defend as they head onto the centre straight, and Robbie Watts draws himself alongside. On the left-hand side of the circuit is Robbie Watts, on the right-hand side is Stuart Wiltshire, which means Stuart Wiltshire has the inside line for Ritchie's corner. and will, by the look of things, just about be able to hang on to the place. So a great move that was teed up at Corham is eventually done and dusted when they get towards Ritchie's corner, and now Robbie Watson needs to try and keep the door closed on Wade Eastwood, who tried round the outside briefly at Wilson. That did not quite work. So he now needs to try and gather his thoughts, scratch his head and see whether he might be able to open the door elsewhere around the course of this lap. He sits there in 6th place. Either way, it's a great drive from the tail end of the field, but of course every time he gains a place, the next one becomes ever harder to gain as he threads his way up through the field, sitting right underneath the rear wing of Robbie Watson as they turn their way round through Agostini. Nothing going as yet, so through the left-hander at Hamilton they work their way, and up towards the right-hander at Oggies. Great little fights that we've got going on through the order, but Jacopo Sebastiani all of the time just stretching the lead, just stretching the advantage and continually pulling away from the charging pack behind whilst they're busy squabbling with each other, and less so concentrating on trying to close the gap to the race leader, who comes underneath the vehicle bridge and back in towards Brundle and Nelson once more. Then it's still Shane Kelly fighting away with the red and white car of George Line for 2nd and 3rd place. Stuart Wiltshire in 4th position. The blue car with its silver flashes of Robbie Watson in 5th has been let off the hook a little bit for the moment by Wade Eastwood, who I think has just dropped back a little bit, maybe to give himself a little breather after what was a frantic lap or so following the restart. So the rest of the cars then just about to thread their way back over the start-finish line. Another lap about to be concluded, and a lap on which Jacopo Sebastiani is surely looking good again for another potential victory here. Over the start-finish line he threads his way, and they are now on the very last lap of the race, so just 3 more miles to go between Jacopo Sebastiani and his 2nd win of the season. 2 on the bounce. The first one was a long time coming, and he may well be they'll do the double here at Snetterton. Cian Carey still busy fighting away. He has not given up his aspirations to squeeze his way through and past Gino Ussi, and you can see the two of them, pretty much together, turning their way round through Wilson now. The Irishman just behind the red and white car of Gino Ussi, and as they head up towards Palmer, he jigs to the inside line, can't quite squeeze his way through there. Gino defensive but fair, and as they then thread their way out of Palmer and in towards the braking area for Agostini, if anything, that attempt to try and take the place has cost Cian Carey a little bit of time on the exit of the corner. So onto the brakes, through the left-hander at Agostini, they'll thread their way up towards the very fast left-hand flick at Hamilton, and then it's onto the brakes, down a couple of gears and in towards the right-hander at Oggies, all of the time whilst Tony Bishop, following his spin, is trying to work his way up through the order. He's now got very much for company the number 28 car in the hands of Mark Harrison, so Tony Bishop, fresh from his spin, is now up to 10th position and looking to try and make it 9th if at all he can, but he's on the final lap of the race and has got work to do, as has Robbie Watts by the look of things. The blue car has caught back up with Stuart Wiltshire once more. Wade Eastwood has sort of faded away. I think all of the hard work done working his way up through the order has probably taken the life out of his tyres in this 2nd race of the weekend, so he's struggling towards the end, but what a drive either way. And what a drive for Jacopo Sebastiani, who is looking good to try and make it a double here. Onto the brakes goes Wade Eastwood, out of Murray's for the final time. Great drive from 15th up to 6th, but what a drive for Jacopo Sebastiani, who comes through and claims back-to-back victories at Snetterton. A bit like buses, you wait for a win, 2 come along at once for Jacopo Sebastiani. He wins round 13 of the 2017 F3 Cup Championship here at Snetterton. Shane Kelly came through in 2nd place, and George Line, the reigning champion, takes his first podium of the season. A delighted Jacopo Sebastiani, punching his fist in the air, claiming his 2nd victory of the weekend. Shane Kelly in 2nd place, George Line in 3rd. Stuart Wiltshire was there in 4th place, ahead of Robbie Watts in 5th. Had a great charging drive from Wade Eastwood from the back of the grid to 6th. Cian Carey, Gino Ussi, Mark Harrison and Tony Bishop complete the top 10. So our happy-looking drivers make their way up onto the podium, and it's another top step of the podium for an absolutely delighted Jacopo Sebastiani. The championship leader strengthens his stranglehold in F3 Cup 2017.
Congratulations, you took a little bit of time to get your wins this year, but now 2 in a row.
Yeah, things are coming together. I'm starting to like this, I'm starting to like this, despite Stuart going for me all the time. But other than that, yeah, it's good. It's good.
What did you think when the safety car came out?
Oh, I saw that's another challenge, and actually, I must say Shane really positioned his car fantastically. He gave me a proper run for my money at the restart, but then everything worked out.
A good 2nd place, I suppose, but you just need to finish ahead of Jacopo to try and close him down in the championship.
That's right. When I went to you in the dirty air behind him, it's always hard to do something around Corham or anything like that. So safety car was quite nice, and I thought, well, I'll just tuck up behind him, and he was in the inside, so I went on the outside to get alongside him and just got the dirty stuff, and then we're back to where we were before.
That was very eventful to watch. How was it from your point of view?
Very tricky race. Managed to get a good start, jump a place at the start, and then it was just a case of trying to keep up and then stay behind with the turbulent air. Luckily, the safety car came out, so managed to get another place, and then from there on, it was just trying to hold on to second and maybe push for third. Stay third to push to second. But the car was very good. I'd like to say a big thank you to F3 Snetterton and everyone in the team, and a big thank you to my sponsor, Komotsi.